Now, in an emergency like I was, where I was shitting my pants with Chris Brown behind me.
There are a few engineers who are capable of meeting the tracking demands of Chris Brown. Today I'll walk through the tracking setup and recording template that his engineer Teezio uses to record him. We will do a deep dive into EQ settings, compressor settings, and Teezio's Pro Tools technique. I just want to give a quick shout out to DK Mixes, whose studio hosted the original recording masterclass that I took most of this footage from. First in Chris Brown's recording chain is the Telefunken ELA M251 microphone. The Telefunken then goes into a Neve 1073 preamp. Take a look at how Teezio sets the preamp for Chris Brown and other artists he works with.
But usually I'll start between 30 and 45, because some people are really quiet, especially females, they'll be mad quiet. So I'll start between 30 and 45, depending on who it is. Also, the louder you go, just know there's going to be more noise that's getting caught on the microphone. 30 to 35, CB is usually around 35. I might have to bring him down if he's really pushing full voice. And then the output trim I usually keep in the center. So why I keep the trim on the middle is because now I can either bring him down or bring him up with more fidelity, right? I can get in there really tight.
After the signal hits the 1073, it then goes into the CL1B compressor. Take a look at how Teezio adjusts the compressor.
So the CL1B is very quick on the attack. The way I use it, because CB can go from low to loud as fuck really quickly, and the last thing you want is your compressor to just smash that vocal, and then he's like, nah, but I like that take, and you're like, fuck. So I usually do this is the in, so that means that the compressor's in. Let's just zero it out really quick. So it's down. This is at 0, this is on fixed. Okay, cool. So basically it's in. The attack, I'm going to bring it up to around 12 o'clock. Just because I don't want it to be jumpy. Especially because it's like, once it hits that, you can't take this off. Once it's on there, it's on there. So you'd rather get a little bit less compression with this, and then do more compression in the computer where you have more control and you can back it off. The ratio I keep 2 to 1 to like just a little bit above. Because if you have it up here, and it's like a 4 or 5 to 1, that means that if you hit that shit hard in 5 dBs going, you're only gonna get 1 out. So it's like you want to keep that ratio low. You can, as long as you're not just distorting and you're not clipping in Pro Tools or anything like that, just get a little compression here and do most of your compression here. The release, I'm gonna keep it slow. I keep that about 12 to 2 around there. So that's a little bit faster. This is already still a fast setting. I put it on either fixed, manual, or manual. So manual will be like fully this, right? So manual is like only this. When you go to fixed manual, it'll actually be a blend, right, of the manual that you have with the quicker release. So you can figure out which one you like better. It might be better to do manual and then adjust these exactly how you want them. Just because the fixed manual has a blend, like I said, of the other shit. Then the meter, I always keep it on compression. The compression is what's showing me what's going on, right? It's showing me how much compression is happening on the compressor. And I usually like to get maximum like -5 dBs. And that's like at the very max where I'm like, we need to back off the mic a little bit. Any more than that, you're just squashing it. And yeah, so this needle should be moving. It shouldn't be moving like this. It should be moving kind of like smooth, you know what I mean? That's what you want from the compressor when you're recording vocals. All the harder compression you can do in Pro Tools.
The first step of Teezio's signal chain in Pro Tools is the Auto-Tune print bus. When Teezio runs all of his vocals through the Auto-Tune print bus, Auto-Tune is automatically printed or baked in to all the vocal tracks he records. This prevents him from having to use multiple instances of Auto-Tune, which generates tons of additional latency.
So basically, Pro Tools out of this compressor right here is going to go aux right here called tune. So this is on input 1. So this is taking input from the CL1B. I'm only going to be printing auto-tune. Cool. So auto-tune, I'll set the key. What I'll usually do is I'll put auto key on here. This has the key, so I don't need it. It's C minor. But I'll put auto key on here, and then when it pulls up the key, I hit send to auto-tune, and if it's the newer auto-tune, it'll actually take right to this, and then it's good.
Chris Brown's auto-tune settings tend to change a lot. Take a look at this snippet from an article which describes the settings. Once the signal passes through the Auto-Tune print bus, it then goes to the 3 yellow recording tracks. Take a look at how Teezio gainstages the signal coming in to these record tracks.
The meter would probably be hitting somewhere around, I call it percentages, so I would say around 70%. Maximum 80 up around here. That's about as loud, but I don't like to record him down here around 40. Call it a healthy waveform where it's nice and healthy and full, but it's not obviously over squashed, distorted, or anything like that. You want to get healthy waveforms, because when you start having to gain things up, all that noise floor that's in there is going to start getting drawn up with it if you're recording too low.
Let's take a look at how Teezio uses the master fader to adjust the levels of the beat.
All use a master? Everyone here uses a master, right? Okay, that's really important, because that's what's going to tell you how loud and what the fuck is going on coming out of your session. So the master is like my seeing eye, so I can see how loud things are happening. One of the main things which we'll get into is when you bring a beat in, you can't just bring the beat in and just like start recording. You have to level it so that when the vocals start coming on, it's like leveled, because if you have the beat at 0 and the beat is mad loud, that vocal will never get loud enough to go over the beat. So what I'll do is when I pull in a beat, I'll pull in the meter. So that shit is loud as fuck. I could not put this in and just start recording vocals because it's already kind of too loud. It's already hitting up to the top. So what I do is I'll bring this down. It's usually around -5 to -7, but it's not always the same. Some people print louder or lower. So I want the peak to hit right above the halfway point on the meter. So around here is where I want that beat to be peaking out. That's gonna make it so that when the singer starts recording from 0, meaning I don't have to turn up their fader, they're already loud enough to be over the beat already. That's like one of the main things I see people not doing. So I have it there. So that right there is perfect for me now to bring someone into the booth, and I'm not gonna have to gain them up a lot. I'm gonna be able to bring them in at 0 essentially. I like to work more at 0. I don't want to have to gain all my shit up.
Next, we're going to take a look at all the auxes in his template. This includes things like reverbs and delays, which get fed via send from the record tracks, but all of his lead vocals and background vocals get sent to their respective auxes where the processing takes place.
The reverb, which I've named reverb main, and I've also named the bus reverb main, right? And on here I just have Valhalla. I just probably have it on the standard setting, which I think this is just like literally the default setting. Oh no, I have it on less. So a little less. So that's the reverb. H delay, real simple. The analog is off. Usually try to low pass and high pass because I don't want the delays to sound just like the lead. So I'll pull down some of the, so it's a little less low end, and now it sounds more kind of radio-y. And that just gives a distinction between the delay. It sounds a little cooler. There's not even any, I'm not even adding reverb to the delay. Like in this point of like recording, it doesn't even matter. Like we're just moving. I have the 8th delay, which is basically a nice little delay that it's like a slap delay. And I think I have it, I usually keep it on ping pong. Yeah, so I keep it on ping pong. And that will actually just give it a little radioed out as well. So it's just a little bit of space. So on the lead, you'll hear it. It's very light. Then I have my background vocal bus, which is basically filtering stacks for CB, which is doing that, and a little bit of compression with a harder ratio. This threshold will change. Right now it's at 12.4, but when the vocals come in, stuff starts happening, I'll open it up and back off the compression or compress more. Then we have another background vocals, which is the same, it's got the same shit on it, but what'll happen is sometimes the background vocals from the verse need to be treated different than the background vocals from the hook. Chris will be like, yo, I want the background vocals in the verse to be more thinned out, so they sound lighter, so they're not like as aggressive. So now I'll route to BG Vocals 2, which is empty right now, and I'll send that there, and I'll radio it from here, because if I have to radio all the backgrounds in place down below, I'm going to have to go track by track and radio everything out. So I'll just do it on the bus. Lead vocal has the same treat like that until things need to change. With CB, what'll happen is this area right here needs to be like fully taken out. But I won't do that until the time comes necessary, because it's not always that case. Different keys bring out different frequencies in his vocal. So if he's in one key and then he's in 3 keys higher later, his voice is going to be more aggressive and more abrasive in this 3 key higher song than the 3 key lower. You know what I'm saying? Because his low tone is not as abrasive. When you look at my record tracks, they don't go to lead vocals. And the reason is lead vocals has compression on it. If I'm listening to a take through the CL1B and it's also getting smashed by that R comp that I have, I'm not really hearing what's happening here. I could be over smashing here and not smashing on the R comp. I don't know where that heavy compression is happening. So I actually like to keep my record tracks going out to 1 and 2. I put the same EQ that I have up on the buses on this on the tracks, because I need that same processing to be happening for his lead, right? So his lead should be cutting 80 just like that thing is up there, but I don't want to be hitting R comp. So I'm not putting an R comp on here, I'm just giving him the cut. If you run through the bus, you're hitting the compressor, right? If the artist says turn up my lead, if you're going through a bus, that compressor that's working with the leads that are already there that are not really loud, his headphone feed needs to be really loud of himself. That would be smashing the compressor. The more you turned him up, the more he'd be getting pushed down. It would almost be the reverse effect.
Now that we've taken a look at how the template is routed and set up, let's take a look at how Teezio actually goes about tracking a verse, pre-hook, and a hook.
So if I'm recording, and this is my record track is here, right? It's gonna take me a second to get this all the way up to here, right, when I'm recording. So what I do is, if I'm working on the verse, I'm doing this, boom, and I'm putting this up, I'm putting it here, and then let's say here's another one, and here's another one, right? And now we're done with the verse. When he's done with the verse, I can pull all these up, and now they're on the verse track. For me, it's about the small steps. Once I get the verse recorded, I pull it up. Then we'll do, over here, we'll do this fucking, we'll start doing the pre-hook. And then we'll do the pre-hook here and pre-hook here, and then now we've got the pre-hook done, right? And now we go up to the pre-hook, and now it's on the pre-tracks. So this is my workspace, and everything is quickly accessible. Boom, 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 boom. And then when I let him hear it, I let him hear the line before plus that line. I don't just let him hear the one line he just did. That gives him context to make sure that the line before is matching. And then when he goes to the next line, if this line matches this line, which matches this line, and it goes all the way back, right? So I always give him pre-roll. Now the cool thing about that too is it gives you enough time to, he's gonna record over here, it gives you enough time to hit stop record and pull this up. If you only play just the line you did, you have to hit stop and then you have to go like that and pull it up, you know what I mean? So it actually, you're doing these little things that allow you to have more time, but they don't notice. Right. Because it's already recording again. They can't, oh, stop, like it's done. They're listening, it's one line to the next one. So, and that allows me to quickly get things up onto the thing without him even noticing what's going on, you know what I mean? Boom, and then he's listening to that. He's gonna sing this line now. Boom, and then pull this up. So it's just a constant thing and it's a flow. And he doesn't even notice what's going on, but I'm bringing him back to the previous line on purpose because it gives me time to pull the lines up and make edits.
Teezio saves every single take Chris Brown does, even if it's just air or breath. Take a look at how he uses playlists to capture and store every single take.
Alright, so if this take is bad, right, and he's like, do it over, I hit record again and I hit control that, control backslash, and then I hit enter, and that's playlisted underneath. Even though I'm already starting to record again on top. You know what I mean? So, recording, and then he says, do it again. That's boom. And then he says, okay, do it again, but punch the last line. So boom, you pull this up, and then you punch the last line, and then you grab just this side, and that's it. And then he's like, okay, cool, we're gonna record a stack here, and he says, do it again. I'm gonna keep that, and I'm gonna playlist it. So it's constantly playlisting everything. You wanna keep all those pieces no matter what happens. It could be air, you know what I mean? Just keep it, because it keeps you in the habit of doing it. After you're done, if there's a bunch of takes that aren't being used, what you can do is Apple Shift U, and that'll actually pull up. See how I just highlighted these clips over here? Those are clips that I'm not using. So I can literally clear them out. So like after you might have tons of shit and you're like, now my session's 5 gigabytes. I don't need all that. You can clear out the takes that are not used, essentially takes that are in playlists or stuff like that. Sometimes he'll say stack, and the stack will be right here, right? So if the stack is on that line right there, hold on, it says stack right there, right? So when he records it, that gives me time to hit stop record and pop the stack off the end.
Vocal stacks and harmonies are very common on Chris Brown's projects. Let's take a look how Teezio approaches recording those.
Stack process. So, just like the leads on the track, right, things stagger. So, when he does a 4 stack, I have 8 tracks and they're all grouped together so that I can, when he's recording and he starts to stack, I can bring all these down together. And they're already grouped like part of my template. Because that's the main thing is, where I have the beat, sometimes when he records his vocal, once he starts stacking the vocals, those stacks get really loud. I can bring them down. He'll record a stack, and then he'll say, stack it. So then we'll pull it down. This mouse is fucking not receiving that down pull. So then we'll stack, and I'll be cleaning up. As he's recording, I'm cleaning up because he doesn't know that that's happening. I'm cleaning up these pieces. Maybe I want to get a little closer. He's recording, I'm not worried. You know what I'm saying? So then we go again. Now we have 4 stacks. Now, it's the next line. He hears that, he's gonna start doing the next line. So I'll start from here, and let's say this line overlaps. So boom, now this line is overlapping the other line, and I'm staggering these together. It's like a ooh, maybe that overlaps right here, right after the line. And now we're gonna do, let's get 4 of these. Here, I'll just make a copy so we can move to the next one. And then now, boom, we're back to this track. So these are gonna start staggering. and you get, and you, see how I'm doing, like you guys can literally do this at home.
Let's take a look at how Teezio records Harmonies with Chris Brown.
So yeah, so I have all these harmonies. So basically I have 3 main harmonies. The green is like mid-range, these are like really high falsetto, and my browns are my lows. And that just gives every record, every Chris record is gonna have at least these 3 harmonies somewhere. After that, it's added harmonies. So there might be another harmony. All these harmonies can now be whatever. So I can always widen these. So, oh no, actually less. So I pan the harmonies less than the main stacks. And I think that's just so they don't sit on top of each other. The reason why I don't like to pan my vocals in Pro Tools during the recording process hard left and right is you're going to hear all those mistakes that happen between the leveling. So when I'm mixing 4 stacks of vocals, I actually go through and make sure all of them are the same level, so it doesn't sound like when it's playing it's like louder now and then louder now, and it's not even. So that's why I keep it closer. The closer, you're not going to notice that. Now when the mixing process, I start to bring that stuff out, but I level the here is loud, really loud. You'll hear like the come out of here and then it'll keep playing. You got to bring all that shit down and level it. Okay, cool. So that's that, and then I keep my verse. So usually when we cut, we always cut the hook first. That's why the hook vocal stack stuff is at the top. Once it's time to do the verse, I'll usually, it could take a second. So we stop with the hook and then it'll be like, all right, bring me to the verse. He'll take like 3 seconds to just kind of like readjust. I'll bring these tracks up here. Now what we're doing with the backgrounds on the verse is usually these won't stagger because there's always a verse lead. So the stacks that I have here in blue are really for like ends of line stacks, where you do like, he might do 2 stacks here for the ends of the line. Boom. And then maybe on this one he does like a ooh, but he wants that radioed out. So I could just throw like a little futz box on these 2 and then have these 2. So these are kind of interchangeable where I can use them, where he'll usually do 2 stacks for at the ends of the lines on the verses. So that gives me 2. Occasionally he'll want to do a verse that has 2 stacks on it. That's very rare. And then my harmonies. So I had one more, this one. For the verses I keep a 3-part. I keep a 3-part on me. Bang. So I keep a 3-part harmony for the verses. If there's more, which there usually isn't, usually it doesn't get to the point where we have like 4 or 5-part harmonies on a verse, because that would kind of lose the focus from the hook, right? If the hook is here and you bring the verse too close to the energy of the hook, then it won't feel like a record that's going through these motions, you know? So I keep 3 on here. If I need more, I'll usually just throw them down here, or I'll temporarily throw them down onto these hook ones. Because think about it, if I'm on the hook right here, let's say this is all harmonies happening on the hook, right? And that's all blocked off, and I'm working over here, and I run out of tracks here, I can just temporarily use this until he comes out of the booth, and I can use these exact tracks from the hook. Just temporarily, when he comes out of the booth, I'll move them and I'll put them onto the right tracks. I just don't want to, I want to steer away from making moves where I'm coming all the way down here and I'm getting this new track here and I'm bringing it up. That costs too much time.
In the lightning fast process of recording harmonies for Chris Brown, sometimes things get lost. Take a look at how Teezio uses pitch shifting in order to recover a lost harmony.
Now, in an emergency like I was, where I was shitting my pants with Chris Brown behind me, I copied it. It was a harmony. It wasn't a lead anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Copied it, and then I shifted it to the right so that so it wouldn't phase, essentially. And it created a little bit of a stereo image, but later on I was able to fix it better by fucking using a pitch correction and just pitching it slightly and just making it different. And I'll just go to the what's it called? Just the pitch and the pitch 2. Yeah. I can see, this is another thing too, is like I'll pitch it here. Let's say he wants to do, all right, so it says 24 up, right? So later on I can go home and I can recopy the lead on there and I can use Serato to do the same thing. So even stuff like that, if you think about it, you might be like, oh man, I only have pitch here. You can do it again later.
Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. In order to support the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. This video required me to comb through over 5 hours of footage and was the most exhausting video I've had to make by far, but it was worth it to get all this great information and condense it down into one package.